In the coastal waters off Simonstown, an astonishing 1 billion rand worth of illicit drugs mysteriously vanished, igniting a brutal clash between the Bulgarian mafia and a dangerous Colombian cartel. This story follows a local gang leader caught in the middle of this explosive conflict, a man suspected of double-crossing a cartel, and the deadly game that followed. What started as a high-stakes smuggling operation turned into a whirlwind of revenge, abductions, and fatal power plays, casting a chilling shadow over South Africa's criminal underworld. South Africa's rising role in the global drug trade. South Africa is fast emerging as a central hub in the worldwide drug trade. Positioned strategically, the nation offers a gateway for narcotics flowing in from South America, primarily Brazil, then shipped through South Africa to reach Europe, Hong Kong, and Australia. South Africa's extensive transport networks, a well-documented history of police corruption, and limited resources to combat the escalating trade have created a perfect storm, making it an ideal transit point for these international crime syndicates. With the continent's highest rate of drug consumption, South Africa has become a battleground, hosting skirmishes between international cartels, regional syndicates, and local gangs vying for control of this lucrative yet treacherous trade. A devastating blow, the 2021 Santa Bay Harbor bust. In 2021, the South African police scored a significant victory when 3 Bulgarian nationals were handed 60-year prison sentences after authorities uncovered nearly 1,000 bricks of cocaine hidden within the hull of a fishing vessel docked at Santa Bay Harbor. Worth R500 million, this haul represented one of the largest drug busts in South African history, but it only hinted at the larger web of international drug smuggling operations at play. The Bulgarian mafia, along with Serbian and other global criminal networks, had deeply entrenched themselves within South Africa. But after the Santa Bay bust, a change in tactics became evident. The syndicates began outsourcing the riskier, hands-on work to local gangs while they pulled the strings from behind the scenes. An ambitious scheme gone awry. The Bulgarian mafia soon forged a dangerous alliance with the Colombian cartel. Together, they orchestrated a massive drug shipment and enlisted a trusted local gang leader, Peter Jagers, to oversee the operation. Known as a powerful figure within the 28s, a notorious Cape Town gang, Peter was selected to manage the plan. The operation was intricate yet perilous. The drugs would be transported on a cargo vessel from South America, dropped at a clandestine location near Simonstown, and picked up by Peter and his team under cover of darkness. Equipping a fishing boat with hidden compartments to conceal the load, Peter and a crew of 6 embarked on a midnight journey to retrieve the cargo. But things took a fateful turn. The boat ran out of fuel midway through the trip, and with worsening weather, their mission spiraled into chaos. Vulnerable and stranded, they had no choice but to call for help. The authorities arrived, but the drugs, worth millions, had already disappeared into the depths of the ocean, or so they claimed. Whispers of betrayal and a sinister plot. As the dust settled, a flurry of rumors began to circulate in the criminal underworld. Some speculated that a second boat, a secret backup vessel, had been involved in the operation, raising questions about the mission's true intent. Was it possible that Peter had orchestrated a double cross, selling the drugs to a third party while pretending they'd been lost at sea? Suspicion spread like wildfire, with whispers of conspiracy and deceit suggesting that the fuel shortage might have been part of an elaborate betrayal. Peter claimed to both the Colombians and Bulgarians that the shipment was lost, but this explanation failed to quell the rising fury of the cartel. The syndicate was adamant. They demanded answers and compensation. The cartel's demand: kidnapping and retribution. Within days, Peter and his trusted lieutenant were summoned to an emergency meeting. According to intelligence reports, they arrived at Cape Town International Airport late one evening, then traveled to Emperor's Palace, where they checked into a luxury hotel. Just hours later, Peter was seen departing with cartel operatives, never to be seen again. The gang world was left reeling as disturbing intelligence reports leaked details of the incident. The cartel, already incensed over the supposed loss of millions in drugs, now unleashed its full wrath. Within days, chilling WhatsApp voice notes began circulating, with the Colombians stating unequivocally that Peter had been taken hostage and was en route to South America. His freedom, they declared, would only be granted if the missing shipment were returned, or if his associates managed to produce a ransom of 50 million rand. A deadly ultimatum, a game of high-stakes negotiations. With Peter's life hanging by a thread, violent incidents began erupting across Cape Town. Gunshots rang out near the residence of one of Peter's lieutenants, marking the cartel's ruthless intention. Although no one was injured, the message was clear. They would stop at nothing to secure what they saw as rightfully theirs. In an especially unnerving voice note sent to Peter's wife, the cartel's demands were spelled out in stark terms. You have 24 hours to produce the money or the merchandise, or we will come after your families. This ultimatum cast an ominous shadow over the lives of those closest to Peter, a terrifying reminder of the cartel's brutal power. Negotiations escalated as Peter's family and allies frantically sought to pacify the cartel. Messages showed desperate offers to make amends, with Peter's wife pleading for alternatives. But the cartel was unsparing. Without the return of the drugs, they promised to bomb your house. Their chilling response made it clear that this was no negotiation. It was a terrifying countdown. International cartels tightened their grip on South Africa's drug routes. The harrowing kidnapping of Peter Jegers reflects a growing and dangerous trend in South Africa. International crime syndicates, particularly from South America, are increasingly targeting local gangs as pawns in their effort to dominate drug routes that pass through South Africa. This development signals an alarming escalation in the volume of drugs entering the country, posing a heightened risk of gang wars as rival groups struggle for control over these lucrative routes. The spike in drug availability also raises grave concerns about rising addiction rates and community safety. The potential for increased violence and the infiltration of powerful international cartels into South African communities could have devastating long-term effects on public health and security. A grim conclusion: the unyielding power of the cartel. The investigation into Peter's abduction soon fell under the jurisdiction of the Hawks, South Africa's elite crime-fighting unit. Yet as weeks turned into months, hope for his safe return began to fade. After 4 months of silence, the nation was shaken by grim news. The bodies of 2 men, later confirmed to be Peter and his lieutenant, were discovered floating in the Klip River in the Free State. The identifications confirmed everyone's worst fears. Peter and his accomplice had paid the ultimate price in the vicious cycle of betrayal and retribution that defines the drug trade. For the Colombians, it was a clear message to anyone who might consider double-crossing them in the future. This tragedy marked a dark chapter for the 28s and signaled the beginning of yet another ruthless struggle for power among Cape Town's criminal elite. The dark legacy of the drug trade, a new era of violence in South Africa. As Peter's brutal demise reverberates through Cape Town's gangland, it underscores the destructive forces that international drug cartels bring to South African shores. With each new shipment, each alliance, and each betrayal, the stakes grow ever higher, ensnaring more lives in a web of violence and deceit. In this grim new landscape, the question is not whether violence will continue to rise, but rather who will be next to fall victim to the cartel's iron-fisted rule. The chilling reality is that Peter's death is likely only the beginning in a long, bloody saga of revenge, power, and ruthless ambition, an enduring testament to the treacherous world of the international drug trade. South Africa's battle against drug syndicates, a system under strain. South Africa's authorities face immense challenges in combating the influence of international drug syndicates. Corruption, limited funding, and resource constraints make it increasingly difficult for law enforcement agencies to keep up with the sophistication of global cartels. Despite recent high-profile busts and arrests, These criminal networks continue to adapt, developing more covert strategies to avoid detection. This ongoing struggle highlights a critical need for international collaboration, advanced surveillance technology, and a dedicated approach to uproot these syndicates' influence, not only within South Africa, but across its international partners as well.